Hey everyone, I had someone recently ask me how hard it is to actually change the motherboard in their system, and actually my answer was, because I'd done it last year and unfortunately it is quite annoying. It's not as bad as completely building a brand new system, as I'll talk about in a minute, but it is still quite an annoying process. And the reason for that is you firstly need to check that your CPU and your RAM is actually compatible with your new motherboard. And yes, you've probably already thought about that, but just wanted to mention it just in case you hadn't realized. You know, if you had an Intel 7th generation CPU and motherboard, you can't then go and buy the latest DDR5 Intel-based motherboard and hope that everything will still work. You know, the CPU and the RAM would not be compatible. So that is something you need to know firstly, is check that your new motherboard will still work with the CPU and the RAM. And you should find on the motherboard specification page on the website, it should actually list what RAM and CPU it actually works with. In that sense, AMD is slightly better because AM4 CPUs, for example, are supported on a wide range of motherboards, unlike Intel, where they often change both the motherboard and the CPU socket every single release, which gets a little bit annoying. But once you know it's compatible and all that, the actual process for changing the motherboard is a bit annoying, and it will feel like you're just building a brand new computer, because what you've got to do is remove the CPU and the RAM and all of the power cables from the motherboard. You've then got to unscrew the motherboard standoff screws to get the old motherboard out. Then you can put your new motherboard in, assuming of course that your case actually fits it. You know, if you previously had a micro ATX case and then you bought an ATX motherboard, that simply won't fit. But obviously, let's assume that the motherboard and the case does fit. So you put your new motherboard in and you screw in the standoff screws again. You might sometimes also need to move the standoffs around a little bit because it doesn't always match up. And thank you, TML Ferreira, for mentioning that. You're actually completely correct, so thanks for that tip. So that is worth remembering, is you might need to move the standoffs and things like that. But once that's sorted and your motherboard is in place, you then need to put the RAM sticks back in. You need to change the NVMe drives because they'd still be on your old motherboard, so get them back in. Any SATA cables you've got to plug that back in. Then your PSU cables, you've got to do that. And then finally the CPU and the CPU cooler you need to put back in. And that's why I said that it's a complete pain at the start of this video, because it's not as bad as, I guess, completely building a new computer, because with that you've actually got to, you know, unpack the case and put the, you know, chassis fans into the case and all that, which is even more annoying. But other than that, and screwing in the PSU, I guess, you're still pretty much starting from scratch when you change the motherboard. So certainly you can change the motherboard, but it's just a little bit of a lengthy process, but it is possible, and I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please click the thumbs up button and please subscribe to see more short videos like this. Thanks for watching.